Welcome to Jacqueline's Exotic Critters. This is my first long form video and it's more of an introduction of who I am and what I'm going to do on this channel. So the first topic I want to cover is that I raise domestic silkworms, also known as the Bombay morai, and I like to raise them into moths. However, I do raise the silkworms as feeder insects for my reptiles and arachnids, which I will do a quick introduction to them all in this video towards the end. And then throughout, each episode, I'll introduce a new animal of mine and, we can learn a little bit about them. But first, my silkworms. So I raise these cute little sausages, little cuties. Here's a close-up of the adorable face. Here they are, spun into cocoons. Silk cocoons, actually, that really expensive fabric that's out there. And inside is a cute little pupa. Pupa waiting to emerge into a cute little domestic silk moth. And I'm not editing that out because that was kind of funny to me. All right, next up, which is a whole new side project that I'm doing, is hornworms. And I'm going to do a whole life cycle of them on this channel as well. And here I'll show you some last night that were burrowing into the substrate ready to pupate. Unlike my silkworms who spin into cocoons and then pupate, hornworms actually bury themselves into a substrate and then pupate. Next up, I'm going to show you how to build smaller terrariums. I like to build them. They're cute. They have a little feeder dish like for mealworms or dubia roaches. That way they don't burrow into the substrate. You can put a jumping spider in here. If you take the cocoon hide out, you could put any type of arboreal tarantula inside, until they grow out of it anyways. But it's cute. They can make their webbing up here, and then this way, when it breaks apart, you're not breaking their webbing as well. Also, this is a bioactive terrarium. While there are no isopods in here, isopods are not good for invertebrates like tarantulas, scorpions, millipedes, things like that. But there are springtails in here to help keep things clean. Here's one of my tiny ones. Super cute. And then one of my terrestrial enclosures. And I use these for all my slings that I get in my tarantula room. I also raise lots of plants. This is my beautiful monstera. This is Susan. She's a gorgeous girl. And then this is my umbrella tree. I've had him for 5 years. He's doing really good. And I also do plant propagations. I sell some of my stuff at reptile expos. I do sell my silkworms at reptile expos, which helps me buy more chow for more silkworms in the future so I can keep doing the process. Also on this channel, we are going to try to bring back flight in the domestic silk moth. Whether that can happen or not, I don't know. It was bred out of them, but I do get some flighty moths each time I breed, and I do breed my own. So maybe if we keep breeding those flighty moths together, we can get some type of flight back, which would be really cool to see. Also, another problem with these silk moths is that they can struggle to get out of their cocoons. While I used to cut them out, I'm not going to do that anymore, and I'm going to start letting them naturally emerge. As for the ones that don't emerge naturally, if I see that they're struggling, I am going to help them out. However, I don't breed those moths. Just that way I can try to hopefully get back more of the fluid buildup that they have and they release it, which helps them get through the cocoon. I'll go further into that in a different video. As for me, I got into silkworms because of the very first bearded dragon I got about 5 years ago. Her name was Pancake. I got her from someone else off Craigslist. She came with a light bulb and a black light, in the 40-gallon tank, which was, at the time it was okay, but she was way too big for that enclosure. She was just a really big dragon. After I brought her home, I noticed some health issues with her. She had metabolic bone disease, gout, some kidney and liver issues, and I had her for about 2 years. But anyways, a lot of feeders are really high in calcium, which is fantastic for a really healthy animal. But when your animal has gout, calcium and high protein, that can really flare up gout issues in your animal, especially if they already have gout. So anytime I was feeding dubias, calcium worms, or things like that, she would flare up, and that's how we obviously realized she had gout. But silkworms were really hard to come by, and I did find some eventually at a reptile expo, but she's never had them since. Since she didn't have them anymore, I just ordered some eggs and some mulberry chow, and I started raising them. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't recommend that, but also there's not a lot of information out there on how to raise them. Like, there's like little snippets of, put them in a box and just give them food, but that's really it. And there's really a lot to raising them. And if you don't keep up on cleaning and whatnot, you can cause viral infections, bacterial infections, fungus issues, and you don't want that. So if you're not on top of cleaning up their poo and moving them from bin to bin and making sure you're sterilizing the bin each time, making sure they don't get dehydrated and things like that, they won't make it to the moth stage. They're pretty sensitive, and I learned a lot during my first round of raising them. And I will continue to share that with you, and I will share all the knowledge that I've gathered in the last 4.5 years now of them, and doing it however I do it. But I am hoping more people do it, so that way maybe we can kind of like come together and figure out a better way of doing it, because as of right now, sometimes I spend hours picking worms from bin to bin, which I actually enjoy doing, and I know not a lot of people do, and that's okay. And it also depends on how many worms you're raising. Sometimes I raise like 1,000 to 2,000 worms, but then sometimes I only raise like 100 to 200, which takes me 5 or 10 minutes. 1,000 to 2,000 worms, that can take me like 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes. It also allows me to offer people at reptile expos more silkworms for their money, which I like and they like, and it works, especially because I use my own eggs, all my own stuff, so I save a lot of money doing that. And I want to teach you how to do the same. So let's do a quick tour of my animals, and then we will end it there. This is Lieutenant Danny. She's a bearded dragon. She's also missing back legs due to being cohabitated with other bearded dragons. And wow, you got lots of shed going on, girlfriend. I like it. This is Freckles, my leopard gecko. He's generally sleeping right now, but I woke him up when I opened up the door to say hi. He's a little cutie. This is my red-eyed tree frogs, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Here's Alvin, Simon, Theodore. And here's Robert, my corn snake. Isn't he cute? Through this little hole, that's all you get to see today of him, but you'll see him more in the future. And this is my Jackson chameleon Fluffy, and he doesn't really care for the camera, so you may not see him a lot, but here he is. Look, see, he's a little not so happy with me when he gets that coloring, but he's really pretty. Handsome. I'm sorry, buddy, you're handsome. And this is where I keep my arachnids, my isopods, and springtails. I'm going to quickly run through this. This is my isopods and springtails right here. I have 3 empty bioactive enclosures up here. My whip spiders are going to go in there. I have 4 whip spiders. More isopods. I forgot about that one down here. I have a dwarf spider in here. I have 2 versicolors. They're getting rehoused soon. This is my avicularia. She's getting rehoused into another enclosure. Down here we have my tarantulas. We have Tequilia. We have Bonita Diablo. I have her enclosure backwards. My bad. I have Pumpkin. And then I have Rosebud. We've got Waffles. We have Purvulus, Poco, Mr. Cookie. And then down here is a vinegaroon, a giant vinegaroon. She's hiding right now. This is Maleficent. And then over here is Baba Ganoush. This is also a giant vinegaroon. And as you can see, he has like a huge burrow underneath here, and that's where you'll find him. Actually, you can see his butt. There he is. Look at him right there. Hold on. Zooming in. To finish this episode up, these are my fur babies, Cooper and Dustin Bob, who's named after Stranger Things. Isn't he cute?